Welcome to another episode, Rapid Reaction today. Uh, I've been waiting for this. I feel like last week I went on vacation and every single day there was news dropping and poor Austin would have to go live all alone. And now I'm home. I've been home for a couple days and just sitting here waiting. We all heard the rumblings. We all heard the whispers. But finally tonight, Sunday night, we find out it happens, and I'm glad to have my tag team partner, Austin, here with me in the car again. Austin, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm getting some Quattro's pizza, Marcus Damascus' favorite pizza from his time at SIU Carbondale. So a little taste of Carbondale before this big news of Orlando Antigua coming to the University of Illinois, coming back to Champaign. What a wild chain of events. And sometimes Illinois is in the right place at the right time. And this was the situation where Calipari blew up the coaching carousel and Illinois was able to take advantage with some different assistants being out in no man's land right now, and Orlando Antigua was one of them with all the coaching turnover.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one of those situations where everything fell into place for the Illini. I don't know if this could have happened should Calipari not decide to take that job in Arkansas. It's funny. I kind of talked about when Calipari took that job. I was sitting here in front of YouTube talking about whether that meant we'd have to be worried about Underwood leaving. And whether it meant that, this was something that we'd have to worry about our own head coach leaving for a different opportunity. And it turns out a couple weeks later, what happens is we have arguably, at least he's in the mention of best assistant coaches in the country coming back and joining our staff. And again, the way it worked out was extremely fortunate for Illini fans. I think we're all kind of riding a high. The secret was kind of pretty much out a couple of days ago, but we were just kind of sitting here waiting. You saw anonymous accounts on Twitter, hinting at it, sending out tweets, and some of us who knew about it, we just wanted to wait. We wanted to wait for the news to confirm. We knew it would happen in a couple days. My assumption was it was going to happen tomorrow. They were going to have a Monday morning drop. The fact that it happens on the Sunday night, it's perfect. That it's not too late in the day. We can sit here. We can talk about it with you guys. I know you guys are as excited as we are. We've got 77 people just watching on all platforms right now. So we appreciate you being here. Make sure you hit that like button before you leave. But Austin, it's nice. It's been a couple days that there hasn't been any news for the Illini. And, you see a lot of our competitors getting commitments. And, while we've done a solid job grabbing some role players, guys who are going to be a big part of our rotation, our fan base isn't exactly known to be very patient. And so we're kind of sitting here waiting to see what the next move is. And now it all kind of makes sense. You want Orlando to have the paper signed, the I's dotted, the T's crossed, because you want to see that with the addition of Orlando Antigua, who else can he bring with him? And it's worth waiting to see what those potential players are.
Yeah, I imagine some big boards will start coming out of guys that have had Orlando Antigua connections, and I can't wait to see all those guys that percolate on those lists or populate those lists. And you just think of this upgrade from Chester Frazier. I love Chester Frazier as an assistant coach. He did a great job of developing some talent and getting some under the radar type of guys. But the problem is, in today's world of college basketball, under the radar guys have to wait a little bit, have to develop talently. And the problem with that, you need instant talent in today's world of college basketball, and that's what Orlando Antigua is going to be bringing in to the fold. He is going to be bringing in guys that can play right away, possibly be all-conference style players in college basketball. He helped bring in the likes of Ayo Dosunmu and the like, and Kofi Coburn. So he's going to be bringing in some top shelf talent that Illinois basketball needs to compete with the Joneses. And I'm not talking about the Joneses of Michigan State. I'm talking about the Joneses of Kansas, Kentucky, UConn, all those type of blue blood programs. You need a blue blood talent getter, and that's what Orlando Antigua is.
I mean, you talk about Orlando Antigua and Tim Anderson as being two of the assistant coaches on this staff. I don't know if there's how many other staffs out there can counter with a 1-2 punch like Brad Underwood can. There's not many, in particular with
No.
when it comes to recruiting. Tim Anderson, Orlando Antigua. You're talking about two of the top maybe 10 recruiters in the country, and again, I find it weird that the Illini fan base is kind of going back and forth with Chester Frazier on this front. I know he made a tweet earlier, about being able to bring Sincere Harris and Amani Hansberry with him to West Virginia. And I think some of the Illini fan base, I don't know if it's just because we're antsy waiting to see what happened, but they found it disrespectful. I don't think it was disrespectful at all. It's a guy who I think, he had to move on. I think, there's some indifferences between him and Brad where this was kind of a best for both parties type of, separation. And if he was gone, then Sincere Harris and Amani Hansberry were most likely not going to be in an Illinois jersey next year anyway. So, some of the fans who are kind of being a little sensitive, saying, how can you just steal from your alma mater like that? It's like, I would just relax. Frazier's in a good place. I think he landed in a spot which is going to suit him very, very well. It's right in his recruiting hotbed. He's bringing in two guys with him who fit his mold perfectly. And, Sincere and Amani are what I consider like great foundational pieces for a program like West Virginia. I mean, they're going to do great out there. And, as long as they're not playing the Illini, I'm going to be rooting for Frazier. I'm going to be rooting for Harris, and I'll be rooting for Hansberry. But today is a good day for Illinois basketball, and it's one of those where we don't need to murk it up with trying to go back and forth with, a beloved alum.
Absolutely. And Amani and Sincere, they are great physical defensive players. And yes, you need those type of talents to win on the basketball court. But there is clearly a shift of how Illinois basketball wants to build their roster. It's through offense. It's through guys that can score on a multitude of levels. You look at who's left on this roster right now. There's not too many defensive studs on this roster. You have one in Ty Rodgers, and that is it. And so Brad Underwood clearly picked a direction, and I don't think that Amani and Sincere would have brought too much to the table, both minutes-wise and points per game-wise, to allow them to stay at the University of Illinois. So you look at who else could be brought in, like a David Jones maybe. Those are the type of players that Orlando Antigua and Brad Underwood want to bring in compared to what has been leaving the program.
Yeah, and would I like Sincere Harris on this team next year? Sure. But, with Boswell committing, and then we had, DJL announcing that he was going to be returning next year.
Nico Moretti is still on the roster.
Yeah, right. It's one of those where we just could be running out of space. And again, I really like the moves that we've made so far this season, but I don't think we've gotten our alpha yet. Right now on next year's team, I don't know who the best player is going to be on that team. And this is, of course, I know I'm just going to be upfront and say this, like, we don't know whether Damascus is coming back, Coleman Hawkins is coming back. So let's just go ahead and assume that they're not. So if they are not, who is going to be the guy to score 15 to 17 to 20 points a game on next year's roster? They're not on the team yet. And, we have, I think, 2 or 3 open scholarships right now. And now we've got 2 ace guys to go out. And, you mentioned a very popular name that, has to be in the forefront of what we're kind of looking for here. A guy like David Jones, a guy who the Illini program has had history with before. We recruited him out of high school. A lot of us thought we were going to land him before inevitably DePaul did. But now we got two guys that recruited David Jones on our staff. Tim Anderson was recruiting him when he was an assistant coach for DePaul, where he ultimately committed, and Antigua was on our staff when he was recruiting him originally. So, sure, we all heard the news about Memphis and FedEx signing that huge NIL deal where, it won't be money that people are not going to choose Memphis, but I think Illinois kind of put themselves in a position where they can offer top money, but also at the same time, we can offer you development. I mean, we thought, a guy like AJ Storr could have slid right into the Terrence Shannon role. But you know what? David Jones could arguably slide into that role even better. And, again, with the Elite Eight run that we just made, we were in the national headlines a lot. And now we have developers. We have like legit talented guys in our assistant coaching tree who develop guys into NBA players. There's just going to be a lot of guys who are all of a sudden going to be interested in coming to the Illini.
We offer a lot combination, like Jay Begin says, they can offer money and winning. He's referring to Illinois. And also say this, they can also offer playing in a premier conference. There's only 2, maybe 3 premier conferences in college basketball right now. I know it's a little bit more open, the college football landscape, but you're playing with some of the top teams in the country consistently in the Big Ten compared to the American Athletic Conference where Memphis is playing in. That's not going to lead to a lot of eyeballs watching your games. And so that combination may lead to David Jones even usurping some of that money that Memphis can offer. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that if I'm a Illini fan. But he's not even in the portal yet, so we'll have to find out what he is truly after in this transfer portal, if that is his avenue right now. I did see Ken Holmquist comment, said Wesley Cardette. He has already committed to the University of Providence, so that is one option that is off the table for Illinois. But there is going to be a multitude of guys that exit the draft and think about their current situation and say, you know what, maybe this school is not the best for me. So maybe after the combine or slightly before the NBA draft combine, things will be different in terms of the transfer portal landscape.
Jay checks in. I'd take Orlando all day over Chester Frazier. Frazier hasn't brought in much. Orlando is one of the top recruiters in the nation. I don't think anyone can argue that. Again, I know Chester is a beloved alum, an Illini for life, but by any sort of scale, Orlando is an upgrade over Chester. And that's why, for me, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about, bashing Chester for any sort of reason. Like I said, it's been reported essentially that this was a break that both Brad and him kind of needed, just a little break off. And he's landed in a wonderful situation. And again, I'm super excited, bringing Orlando back home, here. For those of you who might be newer Illini fans, Orlando's the guy who brought us guys like Kofi Coburn, Andres Feliz, even developed, projects like Georgie, who was an unknown prospect and ended up being a very serviceable big man. Orlando
is a great G League player now, Georgie. So he developed a guy that didn't necessarily have even a ranking by major recruiting services into an NBA G Leaguer, which is just incredible development chops by Orlando Antigua.
I would argue that even happier than the fan base right now with this Antigua hiring is a guy like Kerry Booth. A guy like, if, Okpara from Ohio State decided to enter the transfer portal today, and from what I hear, he might be a guy we might be interested in. Any big man of which we have a gaping hole with right now, we don't have a true 5 on our team right now that we think can play next year. That spot has become tenfold more valuable now because whoever decides to sign on with us is going to be developed by the same guy who developed Coburn, who developed Georgia, who developed Karl Anthony Towns.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about legit some of the best players, not just in college basketball, but in the NBA. and guys who developed into the number one overall draft picks. Like that is something that's going to be very valuable if you are thinking about your own future. And yes, Jay Began, let me get that up there. Curbelo, also who had flashes. And, there's an alternative universe out there where Andre Curbelo could have gone down as one of the all time best fighting Illini. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but at least that freshman season it's one that we're always going to appreciate. But Jackson, my buddy, asks, can Orlando Antigua returning to the coaching staff get Illinois to the Final Four in the 2024-2025 season?
There's
That
a
might be
lot.
pushing it a little bit.
There's a lot to be discovered with what this roster looks like, who that alpha is. That's you, Sonny, keep mentioning. I think that who that is will determine a lot, and the big man situation. If there's a great big man that comes in, that can change the entire trajectory because 3 out of the 4 one seeds, I meant, had a not dominant big man, and that could be Orlando's job starting out right away is to get that big guy to help Illinois.
And it's not just for next year. I think Brad, who, I give all the credit to in the world, who's just constantly adjusting his philosophy, just changing his strategies around the guys that he's brought in, a guy like Boswell, a guy like, Trey White, Kerry Booth. These are guys who hopefully will make a jump next year. But I really think the following season is when the Illini can truly we can bring that Final Four back into conversation, because at that point, we're going to have 2 years of Fletch working on some of these guys. They'll be in the Underwood system. We're going to have guys like Morez Johnson here, Jeremiah Fears. Like those two could be alpha guys in 2 years, particularly Morez. Morez is, a highly touted freshman who I can't wait to take the court next year. But next year, you imagine he's going to have some sort of freshman growing pains. Like if he plays 15, 20 minutes a night, I'll be happy. I think that'll be considered a very successful freshman campaign. But the following year, Morez as a sophomore, now you're talking about a guy who could arguably be one of the best players in the conference and the type of guy that we need to make the Final Four.
I mean, 2 years is the new 4 years, it feels like, in the world of college basketball. The guys that Brad Underwood are commonly getting in the transfer portal have 2 years of eligibility. I think that's the way that Brad Underwood is going to keep rolling through this. Sonny Verma and Austin Berkland, the best 1-2 punch. I don't know about that. Orlando, Antigua, and TA have a pretty solid stance on that. But yeah,
their bank accounts are bigger, so I'm going to judge it by that.
Absolutely. So I think with the 2 years that Brad Underwood likes to get and allow Orlando, especially with the big guys, to develop, that is such a huge factor on guys maybe committing to Illinois. It's like, hey, if I'm a great freshman, like a 5-star style freshman, I can come in and get 2 years of development and then I'm out. That can be the way of the jungle for Orlando, Antigua, and Brad Underwood to get those dominant big man, and then allow TA to work his connections in the portal to get those guards coming in. And that is a dynamic duo right there. And the Big Ten's getting better. I mean, you got to keep up with the Joneses right now. And I think Brad Underwood and getting Orlando solidifies Illinois as still ahead in that horse race with these dominant programs coming into the Big Ten.
It's one of those where, Austin, hold on. We're at 797 subscribers. There's 3 of you watching this right now who are not subscribers. Hit that button. Let's celebrate all together. Hit that like button. Let's hit 800 together tonight. We're celebrating Orlando, Antigua.
1-800-Orlando.
Yes. I'm not going to punch that in. I'm afraid where that might take me. But hit that subscribe button. What I think Mike Carpenter said this in a tweet earlier. I hope it's him. If it wasn't, then please feel free to correct me. But this was a big boy move. This was a move that a program that wants to take itself seriously and show the country that here we're a big dog here. That's the type of move that we made today. And again, Orlando costs a lot of money. I'm sure whenever that contract comes out, we're gonna hear that he's a top five assistant in the entire country. And we already had guys like Tim Anderson, who I'm sure is going to be getting a raise. There's been rumors that he turned down a million plus uh, opportunities at other schools because he wanted to stay in Illinois with Brad. But again, you assume he's going to get raised. Josh Whitman is putting money in to the Illini program, and he believes in where Brad Underwood is taking our team. And so moves like today show that of course, along with Purdue, like we are kind of the bar that the other teams are kind of gunning for now. The Indianas, they need to make these sort of moves to keep up with what we've been doing the last couple of years, because at this point we've seen Brad do it enough where we're just kind of reloading. There's no really true rebuilds anymore in his style. He'll find the players, and it's the other teams who are going to have to kind of adjust what they've been doing. They're the ones firing head coaches, and why? It's because they've fallen back to in the back of the pack. But Illinois is at the forefront of that pack. It's been almost a two-team race for a couple of years now, and so nights like tonight are a cause for celebration, just because it's nice to see that the basketball program that we just love is putting its foot down and letting the rest of the country know that, hey, we're here.
I think Illinois and Josh Whitman, I think Josh knows the history of Bill Self leaving Illinois to Kansas. And I think that Josh Whitman has bigger aspirations than Illinois just being considered a stepping stone job. I think he wants Illinois to be a destination job. Yes, every athletic director wants to say that about their program, but few actually put forth the dollars, the resources, and everything in between to make that dream a reality. And Josh Whitman is doing everything he can in his power to make that dream a possibility for Brad Underwood to not lose assistants, to not even lose Brad Underwood. If Brad Underwood's doing an elite job, he's going to keep elite people in his program. And I think that's Josh Whitman's biggest thing so far, is that he's put his money where his mouth is with this program. And that's so great to see.
You're exactly right. I mean, I know people are already asking on Twitter, and someone asked Jeremy on his show earlier, like, is Orlando possibly a one and done? I think this move shows that Orlando is here for the long haul at this point. A Power 4 team is not going to be hiring him as their head coach. But with the amount of money that Orlando is going to be making in this contract that he's about to sign, it would not be he would be losing money to become a head coach at a P5 school, or like a group of 5 school right now. And we're not going to be outbid. In fact, most people understand that even when Antigua left us for Kentucky, Illinois was willing to match whatever monetary amount that he was being offered in the contract. It was a simple matter of Orlando Antigua wanting to join his friend John Calipari at what is arguably the best job in college basketball, Kentucky. It's prestige. It's one of those where some fans were upset, but I think it was a no-brainer. Like, I understand, and I'm an Illini guy, but I also think that now Orlando, who's also getting a little older, like, he understands, the grass is not necessarily always greener. And I don't know if there's another opportunity like at Kentucky out there anymore that could woo him away from Brad. I mean, he wouldn't have taken this job if him and Brad Underwood didn't have a very close relationship. Both ways. They obviously work very well together. And the fact that he's coming back, to me, cements the idea that, he's here for the long haul at this point. And again, a Brad Underwood coach team with Orlando Antigua and Tim Anderson as 2 of your assistant coaches sets our floor so incredibly high in the Big Ten moving forward that I can't help but be excited.
I mean, I always feel like Orlando has a special Illinois had a special place in his heart the entire time. Because remember when Kofi Coburn entered the transfer portal, when all the assistants left and he still came back to Illinois? I think obviously number one was the strong NIL foundation that Illinois built with the Guardians the and all the different companies. And the second is that Orlando Antigua might have said, "Hey, you should probably stay at Illinois. Like, good things are happening at University of Illinois. Even though I'm gone, you don't have to follow me to Kentucky." So I think that attitude of Orlando Antigua of trying to help Illinois during that transition period just showcased what Illinois meant to Orlando in his heart.
Yeah, I wanted to acknowledge Carson's comment. He was subscriber number 800. Carson, thank you so much. I confirming you're right. We are at 800 subs today, so thank you all for watching and subscribing tonight. But yeah, it's it's good times. Gregory says, "Mark my words, we will win a natty within 5 years." You know what?
I can see that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we had to get this monkey off our back about getting to that second weekend, and until he did that, Brad would always have those questions, those whispers. But not only did we get through the second weekend, we made it to the Elite Eight. And honestly, we lost to a team that everyone in the country was going to lose to. Purdue was far and away the second best team in the country. They didn't look like they belonged on the court against UConn either. So it was a simple matter of
and we scored more points than
seeding.
Purdue.
What was that?
Anytime the national championship is mentioned, we scored more points than Purdue against UConn. So suck it, Purdue fans.
Exactly right. And Gregory also says we now have two of the best recruiters in the country. Exactly. And we're talking about guys, Illinois is used to recruiting, top 50 guys, top 75 guys. We tend to do pretty well with those. And, every now and then we'll hit a top 25 guy, a top 30 guy. But now with Tim and Orlando Antigua in the fold, like, we're going to set ourselves to be in discussions with the top players in the country. Because, again, we have two of the biggest things that these recruits look for. We have the bank. Our NIL on the basketball side is very well funded, and rarely are we going to be outbid by a team. But we also now have the coaching staff and the guys to develop said players for the next level. And that's what these preps want. Sure, we're not going to be taking as many preps as we used to. That's a strategy that Brad, I think, understandably has made. But even other guys from different parts of the country who, in their freshman year, maybe it didn't work out. There were top 15, top 20 guys in the country. They didn't have a great experience at the college they ultimately committed to. Well, you know what? You're rated top 15, top 20 for a reason. You probably have the athletic traits. Let's bring you into our program. Orlando probably recruited you at some point. Tim probably recruited you. Now, your second chance can come here in the blue and orange. And we can give you the money, and we can offer you the opportunity to play in one of the more fun offenses in the league, in the country, for a program on its way up, and get you ready for the next level. And, what else could you possibly want?
We are uniquely suited with having two guys with two different skill sets and excels in both. Number one, with Tim Anderson's NBA training that he does almost on the side of his Illinois job. He can help out with the NBA training aspect of it. And then we have the King of the Back channel with Orlando Antigua. He is going to be, he has so many connections in the basketball world that just sets him apart from a lot of assistants that are just trying to grind. He knows exactly who to call on a guy and get an answer on the phone. It's just going to be incredible to watch those two work together.
It's fun. It's been Alex. Alex says we're at 8:02. Thank you again for all of you enjoying this Sunday night with us. It's been tough for me. I kind of joked around about this earlier. I was on vacation all last week, and Austin, held it down for us. He did a great job doing these solos, and I got back all antsy, ready to go live. Should we have had any, exciting news? But nothing happened, and so we were just kind of sitting there a little stagnant. I know the spring football game was yesterday, and Austin, if you want, we can kind of talk about that a little bit. But
I did not watch it. I'm going to be honest. I have it
okay,
on DVR.
maybe we'll save that for a future episode. But you know, we're all just kind of sitting our hands on this information. We knew this was about to happen. The guys at Armchair Illini, they had an article ready to go as soon as the announcement was made. I'm just glad they did it today on a Sunday, where it's still early enough in the day where we can all just kind of sit here, talk back and forth, and celebrate together, as opposed to happening, mid Monday drop. And we're all just kind of hustling around, trying to make some time to do this. But yeah, it's good times, because now I know we're going to start hearing the names that might be coming with Orlando. And we kind of talked about this before, but we're all just kind of sitting on our hands waiting to see for one shoe to drop, which was the Antigua hiring. And now we get to hear about the names, the David Jones, the Boogie, all these type of guys. We can see who we might be able to fill out our roster with. And that just means, the times get even more exciting for Illini fans over the next week or two.
Absolutely, and I just can't wait to see this roster get put together. This is going to be a weird transitional year for the Illini. There's going to be a lot of talent on this court, but it's going to take some time for it to all gel together. We had that fear last year, but it gelled a little bit quicker than we all initially anticipated. And I know there was some weird juxtapositions in there with Terrence Shannon's case going on. But I can't wait to see in year 2 what this team looks like with these transfers of Trey White, Davis, Kylan. I mean, all of them put together. It's going to be amazing to see that group develop together into even next year's team.
Gregory says, man, it's great to be an Illini fan. So excited. And that's completely true. It's one of those nights where on social media, a lot of the other fan bases are going to think we're overreacting. Where they're going to kind of roll their eyes at whatever's going on with us, but just ignore them. Today's a good day. We know it is, because we've seen what Antigua was able to do here in Champaign before NIL was allowed. Before all the money was starting to exchange hands, well, legally, let's just say. Now we get to do this he gets to play the NIL game along with building his relationships. And I think we're just in really, really good shape. Cody, what's going on, man? Fellas, I needed this. Yeah, that was a tough Cubs loss today. I'm not sure what's going on with Hendricks, but make sure you check out Cody's show. He's the Cubs CHGO guy. We've had him on here to talk Illini sports before, and who knows, he might be going on live a little bit later as well. Gregory says, haters gonna hate. Let him. That's fine. I'm no longer bothered by that. It's
right.
It just, I got more important things to worry about. Kirk says, Sonny versus 1,000 haters. Yeah. I don't know, Austin. I don't know if you saw my tweet the other day. I still, I tuned into the Boiler Express show the other day, and they didn't like the fact that I make fun of how Purdue fans always think everything they do is the classiest of class. Look how classy our coaches and our fan base.
They are the St. Louis Cardinals of the Big Ten, where it's a best fans in Big Ten kind of atmosphere. Look at us. We do things the right way. We don't use the transfer portal. We have all 7 guys of our high school class still here, kind of thing. Like, no, sorry. You still scored less points against UConn than Illinois did. So sorry about your life.
Jason says, get the roster in order and take a trip overseas to bond and build some chemistry. Let's go. Yeah,
I don't think we're eligible for another overseas trip until another couple of years. Okay. I think you're allowed one every 3 years. Is the rule.
Jason's thought is correct, and that's going
Yes.
to be the thought for Illini teams moving forward. Essentially, you're talking about a good percentage of your roster is going to be flipping almost every single year. Now, I do think Brad is trying to correct that a little bit this year. That's why he brought in guys who are young enough who can be projected to be on next year's teams as well. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those where a lot of these guys don't know each other. That's why, it's nice to see a guy like DGL staying. I know there's rumors now about Luke Goody possibly leaving. That could open up another roster spot, but that's always going to be the risk that you run with Brad's style of building a roster. But after the year that we just had, it's something that's just going to come with the territory. And every single year, I genuinely have a belief in Brad that he's getting better at it, and he's understanding what some of the weaknesses are, what he did wrong in the previous season, and he's shoring that up to the point where ultimately, like the commenter said earlier, I think we have a legit chance at a natty in the next 5 years or so. Jason also says Illini versus Indiana next season. Can't wait. Yeah, I mean, they need to
Number
grab
one
something
transfer
other than
class
big.
in the country,
Oh,
Indiana has.
yeah. I mean, they're loading up on the big guys, but they're definitely going to need to bring some wing players and some shooting, because that's been the issue with that program for a while. And again, there's some whispers that Luke Goody might be going back home. We'll see what happens. Jason says, so I heard David Jones and Boogie Flan possible connection. Any others you have heard?
Not really.
Those are the two main ones. Those are the two main ones. Just because I think the fit is so natural for our roster. Austin and I will get on later on this week and kind of bring up the names that we've been hearing now that the news is official. But again, there's got to be big guys out there who didn't know about this hiring, that all of a sudden their ears are going to perk up a little bit. Their eyes are going to widen up a little bit, because this is going to be something that is a great opportunity for a big guy who wants to not just excel in college, but possibly make it to the next level. Austin, you have a request.
Yes, I will be doing that on YouTube Shorts. So follow us for that. That's a tease. So the Illini Cast YouTube account, it'll be on a YouTube Short.
All right, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys. We made it up to 805 subs today. Thank you all so
Boom.
much.
Thank you.
Please send this to your friends. Hit that like button. The bigger our community is, the better for all of us. We're always on standby mode here. I'm going to be trying to get on live as soon as any news of importance happens, with Illini basketball or football. With the off season, Austin and I have kind of discussed we're going to probably do one long form show a week, and we're going to pick a consistent day for you guys, like whether it's a Wednesday night or a Thursday night. We haven't settled on a date, but yeah, we'll pick one particular night every night, so you'll know it'll be like Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Be there, and we'll talk about it for an hour about whatever's going on with Illini sports. But also stay tuned for any breaking news, because we'll be on as soon as we can, just like today. And should any guys commit tomorrow, we'll be on immediately. The Armchair Illini guys, who we're working with now, they'll have those articles up ready for you. This is a great relationship that we all have, that I think is working out great for Illini Nation. And Austin, any final thoughts?
Just unreal how Illinois ran into this good luck with Orlando Antigua. It's crazy that Illinois has had good luck in these kind of things. Normally it's the opposite. But yeah, that Arkansas stealing Calipari kind of opened up the floodgates for this kind of thing to happen. If I know Orlando's family was very happy in Lexington. So if this did not happen in this series of events, we're talking about a different assistant coach. It would have been an elite assistant coach, because Brad Underwood would have got that with Josh Whitman's support. But just the fact you got the alpha in Orlando Antigua as an assistant, just incredible stroke of luck, timing, and the ability to close by Underwood and Whitman.
Exactly right. And it's one of those where all of you go ahead and tweet at Armchair Illini tonight. Actually submitted my first article. It was not really as much an article as an editorial. I won't give up what the topic was, but one part of it that I did write about is, Austin, if you think about it, and this is like a perfect final thought for our show, and we can wrap it up. 3 years ago, Brad Underwood lost Orlando Antigua, Stephen Gentry, and Chin Coleman, his entire coaching staff. And a lot of our opposing fan bases were just kind of pointing their fingers at us and saying, see, look, success is fleeting for you guys. You guys, I hope you enjoyed your run, but now it's time, to be humbled again. And what happened afterwards? We won 20 plus games every single year since. And now, the best assistant of the group, Orlando, comes back home to a staff that was better than the one he left a couple years ago. And he's joining a team that just got done making an Elite Eight run. So again, Sunday night, it's just one of those. Feel free to go ahead and reflect on how good we have it right now. Yes, we haven't reached that final weekend yet, but I like where we're going. Compare it to our past, and let's just keep enjoying the ride.
I think there's only one fan base in the entire country that can say that they have it better than us, and that's UConn. I truly look at everyone else where Purdue's going to have to reinvent themselves after Zach Edey. Kansas is kind of in a weird situation where they haven't won the Big 12 yet. Houston, we'll see what happens when Arizona gets added to the Big 12. Illinois is in a prime position that Illinois hasn't been in since Bill Self and Illinois were in place, and that's a great feeling knowing that a 3 seed or a 4 seed might just be the down year of an Illinois basketball program for the foreseeable future with the staff that Brad Underwood has and Brad Underwood himself.
And the last thought of the day, Gregory, Brad doesn't get the credit he deserves for replacing his whole staff the way he did. Exactly right. It's one of those where Brad certainly has his flaws, and no one's saying he doesn't have his flaws, but he has some strengths that I don't know how many other coaches can go through what he's had to deal with off the court and really essentially not lose a step. Whether it's building a team through your backcourt and then switching offensive systems because you want to build through the guy that you have in your front court, the big 7-footer at center. He's willing to make those moves, and he's always made those moves. And I think the ultimate justification that he's gotten is tonight. It's one of the top assistants in the country saying, I don't want to follow John Calipari to Arkansas. I want to come coach for you again, Coach Brad Underwood. And again, you're talking about inarguably top 5 assistant coach in the country. And with that, again, hit the like button, subscribe button on your way out. Austin, poor Austin's pizza is getting cold, so we'll let him get home, and I'll look forward to that one bite review, and we'll see you guys all later. ILL.
I thank you.